Hello everyone, welcome back to another Worlds video. Sorry for taking so long. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to talk about until now. So yeah, just a quick disclaimer. I'm not trying to flame any team or player or anything. This video is just me sharing my perspective and hopefully you guys can learn a thing or two in the process. But without further ado, let's get into it. Today I'm going to be talking about the way I see the difference between being at the top of your league or whatever and being the very best, because there's a difference between being, let's say, at the 95th percentile or the 99th percentile. Even though they're, you could say they're close, I think they're actually further apart than many people realize. A good way to understand this concept is comparing it to a test. If you give a test with, let's say, 100 questions to two people, one who answers 99% of questions correctly, and one who answers 95% of questions correctly. 95% of the questions they would both get correctly. But it's only a few key questions where the person in the 99th percentile has the advantage or would answer correctly and the other person wouldn't. And these, you could say, are the key questions that are separating them. But as of course, with anything on any given specific test, it could be, you know, there's slight variance. Maybe you were under pressure, or maybe there was other things, or maybe it was a good test for you, or maybe you woke up on the right side of the bed, or whatever it might be. There's obviously variance. So in theory, the person only answering 95% of questions correctly could have a better test on any given day. But with enough tests, enough days, consistently, they won't be scoring better. So if you see a team's strength as their ability to answer these questions correctly or know what exactly to do in any given situation, and any test as a game, it might make a little bit more sense. And I think this is genuinely how I see the East and the West, compared to each other right now. Any given test or game, EU could in theory beat the East if we get lucky, perform at our peak level, or they mess up. But given enough games, the LEC don't seem to have the same consistency as the Eastern teams. And obviously this depends on their seed. JDG is different from Weibo, so on and so forth. To show some examples of what I mean, we can take a look at how BDS played against JDG in their very first game of Worlds. BDS actually played a very good game for the first 16 minutes or so, until the third Drake fight, where Adam got caught on a flank, leading to him dying and BDS losing the Drake. Later at 2350, Shio gets caught trying to retake Nash vision, causing them to lose the Nash and control of the game, and their Nexus exploding 3 minutes later, right after JDG gets the Nash. So, if we take a look at this situation. Oh, oops, it's a bit too far forward here. Adam is on a flank, they're contesting Drake from bot side. This is fine. Adam can come in late to the fight. If the fight starts, Drake is not even close to being started. Maybe just started by JJ or Kanavi here. Sorry, I can't speak. And he gets caught immediately, dies. And yeah, there's not much to it. They lose the Drake. Next, you see they start Nash here. The Bruv is coming from top side. He's gonna get a pink ward on it. No one is stopping him. She queues over the wall. You can already see, if you go back, already here, there's a ward on it, right? They already know the HP. No one is contesting on top side, so obviously JG are gonna turn on the bot side. Shio gets caught here and dies. They already have vision on it. They are completely split, and now they lose Nash, right? This is not something crazy, but this is small mistakes costing specifically BDS very dearly in both situations. We can keep it going. We can look at, this was a extremely egregious one in my opinion. This was Fnatic against BLG. They have a small skirmish here in the bot side river. They know Jax is moving, Yagao is coming from base, and they just chase too far. Drake is coming up here. They get a good pick on. BLG run away. Trimby goes too far, has a shutdown. He ends up obviously getting collapsed on. Bin is still committing to the move. They can't commit to the fight. He dies. Okay, that's not ideal. It is what it is. It is a big deal. You're giving 450 gold to enemy AD carry, but like, it's not world ending. Now, Razok paths top, and he puts Herald on top side here, where he's gonna be weak side on bot now. Humanoid, obviously, your jungler is showing top, and enemy jungler is not showing anywhere, so he's most likely bot. Humanoid gets caught here, dies, and they lose first turret. Elk on next wave here gets first turret. That's one shutdown, one kill. That's 750 plus first turret. That's 450 plus the 550 gold, so 500 gold pretty much. So it's 1250 gold. And now, if we look here, lane economy snapshot. Elk just got fed from thin air. It was nothing crazy. They didn't do anything necessarily to get Elk this fed. Fnatic over chasing, Fnatic getting, or Humanoid getting caught on bot, and then losing first turret. And now, out of nowhere, he's fed, and he's gonna end up carrying this game. Obviously, there are many situations where Fnatic could have played it better. They have a look here. They win a fight later at the second Herald, but my point still stands. This game became astronomically harder because of this. Elk is omega fed. And then obviously there's this fight later on in the game. This is where they actually lose the game, like where it actually becomes impossible. There are many ways to break this down. The point is not necessarily always the specific here. I'm trying to look at the general point and say it's not only like one thing. It's like in general we're just doing everything slightly worse. We're maybe at the, as I said before, 95th percentile. So it's not about we don't know the correct answer. Obviously Humanoid knows he's caught. It's just not consistent enough, right? And then later on in the game they lose the Drake fight and lose the game. Now if we can look at G2, they have played a really good game so far, 3-0, they're up 4k. Now they try to contest on Drake from two sides. This is almost illegal. They get turned on one side, they insta die, obviously. Again, it doesn't take a genius to break this down. This is just a stupid mistake, unnecessary, giving Damwon a way back into the game. And then obviously this is notorious, the later Nash. Again, not here to break down the specifics, exactly what you could have done differently. There are many things. Probably don't start the Nash whenever you have no turn tools left. No way of keeping Canyon out of the pit. You're playing against a poke comp. If you can't burst it down, you get destroyed in the pit. Many different things. Or if you really want to start it, you need to be able to be willing to flip it and not just stack up for the rail engage. Many things. Now looking at the Weibo game, this is maybe a bit more technical, but again, it's I think important. They have bot prio, they have huge bot prio. Yike pulls the Drake to bot side instead of top side. This is important because obviously Saya has a free move. Kaiser's bot trying to catch the wave. So if he pulls the top side, they're able to stand here and hit the Drake with Mickey and Yike, and the Hansama of course. And if Weiwei or Xiaohu try and contest from here, Kaiser's gonna be so far away, and Caps is right there on the weak side, or like the weaker side whenever they're contesting Drake, being able to contest and help them turn. But what ends up happening is now it's on bot side. Weiwei and Xiaohu can walk in, Caps can't, because, well, his team is too far to help him. They're here on the bot side, and they have to relinquish to the Drake, they lose it. Again, not a big deal, not a huge mistake, just small stuff. It's like, and these are obvious answers obviously afterwards. More notorious stuff here. This is, you know, the Hansama getting caught with ult with flash. Weiwei is on a ward, dies. Light gets back into the game. 30 CS down. Oh, this is complete disaster. More times Hansama walking mid, attacking a turret. He's for sure not allowed to take or hit with this tempo on the map, and he gets collapsed on by Weiwei. Again, he ends up dying, losing some of his lead. And then obviously another disaster Nash. There are just many small things, right? Otherwise playing a very solid game. And then they get back into the game from this, and this is Xiaohu with everything up getting caught by Rakan W. And obviously this is good by G2 playing around how enemies are playing and punishing whenever they make a mistake, but this is not a reliable way to come back into the game and not a reliable way to win the game. And obviously G2 also made mistakes. The Drake, all these other things I just showed. These are not things Weibo can rely on. But it's just not as clean. Now, if we look at this situation, this is from Mad Lions, switching gears a little bit here. Weibo, see, Niski super fed, runs away, that's fine. His team was hovering, they were collapsing, so if they committed, they would win. But now he stays around. Enemies aren't showing on mid wave, they're pushing mid wave. Obviously, Mad Lions walking back to mid, pressuring mid, then Weibo would have to walk all the way around and defend. But they still have a timer to make a fast play on top. Niski overextends, gets collapsed on by 5 people. Just like that, Light gets 1k. And then later in the game, they take a bad fight right before Soul. You know, I'm not here to break everything down. I'm just showing many things and many examples of different situations where you are just not doing it as clean as otherwise. Another example here, they want to push up bot. Elioya is hovering, then he bases. But Illisang and Kasi still want to crash it. They don't want to allow this freeze. Well then, you know, Elioya should have probably stayed around if that's what they want to do. Because now they get caught. They just die, and even Hillesang dies here later to a snipe, which is obviously a complete disaster for the game, giving Aphelios like a state like this, allowing him to scale, and they win the game. Now, just to compare this to how I would argue these are the top 2 LPL teams at this tournament, at least how they've played, is a completely different story in terms of everything. Just if you watch this team fight and you see how hard LNG, by the way, in this case, LNG are 3.5k up pretty cleanly, 3 Drakes, how hard they have to work to beat JDG in the team fight versus JDG being behind against BDS and just walking in and getting a pick immediately. So Kanavi jumps the wall here, he messes up a little bit, he gets collapsed on by Scout, but instead of insta-dying, he just flashes it. He's like, I fucked up, I used my flash, okay, that's fair. Adam didn't, you know, like he Alistar combo insta. Maybe he flashes that Alistar combo, they can still play the fight, just to compare it. And now it starts going, you know, very crazy, like a level you would never see in EU. Knight positioning well on the bot side here. Well, why? He wants to poke, but he also wants to stay safe, and he knows they're playing top side. Or I'm pretty sure they saw him walk into top side here. Yep. So they have control of this bot. Not getting poked, getting as much poke on Gala as possible. They're still playing the fight. They start the Drake, they force Ruler to come back. Here, Tarzan gets caught. Again, the same thing as Kanavi just did, but he uses his flash. He doesn't get insta one tap, lose the Drake. And now, in 1 second, yeah, Missing pulls the trigger. Gala insta reacts. If he doesn't react to this, he probably just dies. They lose the fight. So that's required of him, or they lose. Scout goes on this side, and they try and collapse on Scout now, Knight and Ruler. They don't kill him. They try and flash over and finish the job. They're ready to collapse on him, right? And this is not the highest level. Both teams are playing at the peak, but they're still playing very well around the situations that are happening. Okay, Kanavi fucks up. He insta realizes he's like, okay, I'm out of position. I need to flash this. I need to get out. Or Tarzan the same. Being able to react to the flash ult from Missing. This is miles ahead of what you would see European teams do in similar situations. What is the core problem in LEC then, you know? It's a fair question to ask. Because from the outside perspective, people seem to be able to break down and comment on the losses, like I just did. And everyone seemed to have a pretty good understanding of what went wrong, you know? So why aren't we doing better? Why aren't we doing those things we're saying we're doing wrong? I think it's similar to the analogy I did before. After the test, it should always be quite obvious what the answer was. Maybe you forgot exactly what to do in the heat of the moment. Maybe it wasn't as practiced as you thought it was. There could be many reasons why. So what is the mistake the person with 95% accuracy they're making? It's impossible for them to understand the question or know the answer? Or maybe, possibly, is a lack of experience and practice. Because I think more often than not, it's the latter. It needs to be so well practiced that even when you wake up on your worst day, your level is there. Even when you get solo killed by Gala on Herald timing, the level is there. Even when the days when your teammates int, the consistency is there. When you're sick or when you choke against NA's first seed, it should still be there. It needs to be like more natural than breathing, and I don't think this can be achieved in 1 year. I think you're mistaken if you believe that. Um, if we look at G2 for example, they got their ass handed to them at MSI, but like instead of saying, "Oh, we did the best out of the Western team, so that was pretty good" or whatever, they said, "Okay, we fucked up. Next time we need to change. We need to change solo queue. We need to change scrims. We need to change attitude towards domestic competition." And then they came back for Worlds, and what happened? They lost again. Like this doesn't mean you should quit. Like this just means you need to do it over and over and over and over again until you win it all, or until you actually become that good. Like winning a world championship is not necessarily a 1 year thing or 2 year thing. It can be like a career thing. Most of these players at the top level, they've been there many times. They've also failed many times. Obviously, the West, we know all about failing, but how much can you take from that? How much can you learn from that? Because at the end of the day, I think the East's biggest advantage is the domestic teams, or some teams that even only play domestically. They're ready to hand you your fucking ass if you're not up to par. Like, genuinely. Like, Rookie and Jakulov, obviously this is the classic, they barely didn't make Worlds, right? In LEC, the teams that barely didn't make it, that's SK and Excel. And I don't want to flame these rosters, but they're not quite the same. OMG, they barely lost in playoffs to EDG. They're like world champions and everything. EDG didn't make it either, right? In 5 games, close banger. Guess what? Their season is over. Done. You get fuck off. You didn't make it just like that. No more OMG. They need to wait for next year, right? And they are out because one test or whatever you want, one game or one series, they weren't at the top of the game, or maybe they were, but it wasn't enough. This is what, to me, and I just builds, world champions. An environment that allows people that are at the top of the game day in, day out, only allows those people to succeed. Year in, year out, And that, I think, is just the truth right now. Like, I don't think there's any evidence to the contrary. What G2 created was, I think, the closest thing the West has seen to an environment like that. I don't think this is where you flame them for not doing better, and then just casually say like, "Oh, I guess they're the best team in spring again," and give them another trophy. This is where you watch and you learn, and hopefully, whenever they walk out back to LEC studio, walk out of that shuttle or whatever, you smack them in the face, and you say, "You better come fucking prepared, or we will destroy you." And you make them wish that they had performed better at this Worlds, because they won't get the chance next year because you improved, you got better, and you're ready to smack them down. You kind of, in my opinion, need to perform every day. Like, let's say there's 10 or 20 days for your first World Championship match. And yes, of course, you need breaks. You need to make sure you don't burn out. All of these things. And there's, performance psychology. You can't be at the top level all the time. But you get the point, right? You need to make sure you are working towards your goal in some capacity every day, the most you can, for a consistently long period of time. Worlds is not just like one tournament, let's see, It's like an accumulation of all your effort as an individual and as a team until that point, So winning it or not winning it should mean you fucked up somewhere, and winning it means you did something right, Not winning it means something needs to change. Is it mindset, practice, schedule, coaching style, mental fortitude, communication, adaptability, anything? It can be a lot of different things, right? G2 doesn't win LEC because they have like magic in their water. They have like a structure that works. At least seem to work for them, right? And everyone else, they clearly kind of don't. At least in EU. Like, maybe we should look to change those, modify them, maybe adapt, do something. And of course, not every single team can have a championship winning roster, but make people sweat for it. IG beat JDG as one of the last series in the LPL summer regular season. You don't have to hand it over for free. I think I've like maybe got the point across. I hope at least. There's not like one magic bullet. Everything is fixed. Now we're world champions. Now we get back to back to back to back 5 years in a row. Like that's probably not happening. But I think the moment you think you can't win, then it's lost. Then you no longer can. Um, so something needs to change every time. Surely we learned something from this world, from all the other worlds, whatever it might be. Even domestically, if you lose a series, if you lose to a team, whatever, if you roster implodes, there has to be learnings. And obviously, I obviously assume most people in the LEC already know these things, but I'm telling you that at least from what it seems like on the outside, LPL just have LPL LCK have more of these situations created, and also at the same time they're better at adapting to whatever situation it is. Because you know the top of LPL will have gone through trials and tribulations, a fucking cracked out of the mount gauntlet, a regular season with blood, sweat, and tears. So the winner is ready. And I don't think we can say the same for G2. They did not have to go through the same amount of struggle to get to Worlds, and that I think is part of the problem. Yeah, I hope I've made myself clear, and let's just enjoy some Worlds. You know, I think there's gonna be some banger series coming up, so I will still be watching and enjoying it. Maybe breaking something down. If you have any questions or anything, please let me know. I would love to answer the best I can, and see you in the next one.